Hello and welcome to the Pulse. Time to react to Chelsea getting off to winning ways. Back like we never left, Zach. Champions of Europe, 1 out of 1, 1-0, no goals conceded. Good night's work.
What did we say?
Yeah.
Patience. I thought, some of the comments at half-time, people were overreacting a little bit. Have trust in Thomas Tuchel. What a great goal. As you mentioned, job done. Look, Zenit, fair play to them. They made it tough. They really did. And they defended really, really well. But obviously, when you've got Romelu Lukaku, probably the best striker in the world, he does score a lot of goals.
Dan, you pretty much called it, mate. It wasn't a time to change it, kind of let things run, and eventually it'll come. It was always going to be one of those games. After you saw the first 20 minutes of how they were just willing to sit back and accept the pressure and just try and deal with it, it was never going to be one of those free-flowing, beautiful games to watch, but we just had to get 3 points from somewhere, and we got it. Doesn't need to be as well, does it? Like you were saying before the game, in terms of about being patient, about taking your time, and ultimately, these group games, you just get through the group. That's all it's about. You qualify from the group and then you go again. Yeah, and when it's all said and done, no one really ever remembers the group stages of a Champions League campaign. Yeah. You just want to make sure you get through. Sometimes it doesn't even matter if you come first or second. Your chances are you're going to draw a decent side in the round of 16 anyway. So it's best just for pressure. We've got some big games coming up. You just want to have 3 points in the bag so that it's on to the next. You don't have to worry about anything else. Absolutely right. Let's get some immediate reaction then. Just outside of Stamford Bridge, Zach, you caught up with some fans, didn't you?
I did.
So, guys, we've just won. What do you think? How'd it go?
Mate, I think it was a great performance. Decent. I mean, plays like, for me, Jorginho stood out today. He had the solidity to the midfield. Kovacic and Jorginho. I love Kanté, but them two did work so well together. And I'm chuffed to bits.
I enjoyed it very much.
Your opinion. No one else for your opinion.
Talk to me about Lukaku.
Romelu Lukaku, best striker in Europe.
How did you think the game went?
It went nice. It was a good pass by Aspilicueta.
It was.
Yeah. When Lukaku scored, I was impressed, and I think it's a very good signing.
How happy are you that he's back at Chelsea?
I'm excited because I think he will do a lot again for the club.
Buzzing. He's going to get more goals than Ronaldo.
There you go. Heard it here first.
He's got a future in punditry now.
He's really impressive, man. Really, really good.
Very, very good. We'll have to get him on the show at some point. We've had a good evening so far, so let's have a little look at how the game unfolded then on social, because rightly so, before the game, we had to celebrate, didn't we? We had to make sure that people were aware, especially the people around Fulham this evening are very aware that Chelsea are champions of Europe and they are back home. And we won lots of awards as well. It's kind of a done thing now. Chelsea get trophies whenever they play. So Edouard Mendy, Thomas Tuchel, Jorginho and Kanté getting awards before the game for their Champions League campaigns last year. May it continue is absolutely right. May it continue indeed. We are 255 days away from the final in St. Petersburg, if anyone is counting. So I'm getting far too carried away.
Is that far away? Is that short? I can't tell anymore. I'm still thinking about you saying it was over 100 days ago since we were in the previous final. That's honestly blown my mind.
It really has, hasn't it? There's so many players, so many specifics that we can go into tonight. Antonio Rudiger is probably a player that we need to chat about, Dan, because he was so good today. He's always very good, though, isn't he?
He's just so consistent in a back three. Honestly, it's like he turns the game into just a 1v1 assignment up against whoever's in his vicinity, and he was a rock today. He had a couple of very important tackles, not to mention that run. The parading run. Honestly, I'm wishing it was like Zuma's. And I'm hoping that one of these goes in the back of the net and just lives forever in Chelsea memory. But yeah, he was rock solid today, and a huge part of the reason why we've had so many clean sheets recently.
We're going to come to him. We're going to come to Lukaku as well. Let's have a little chat about, again, the people you spoke to outside, mentioning Kovacic and Jorginho. I suppose a lot of the time, up until fairly recently, those two kind of go under the radar a little bit for the work they do. Jorginho, rightly so, now getting the credit because of the awards and the accolades and the trophies he's won. Kovacic at the weekend was phenomenal. Yeah, really well. Again, brilliant tonight. But there's so many players and so many cogs that work together. And as a two, like that guy was saying, as a two, they're superb.
They read each other's game they just know every time what they're going to do. Whether Jorginho's got the ball, then Kovacic knows the perfect space to move into. If Kovacic's got the ball, Jorginho drop back in case anything happens, and it works so perfectly every time. They do little 1-2s between each other, and they make other midfields look. It's not to go too far, but it is kind of Barcelona-esque, back when it was tiki-taka, and sometimes they'll add in, whether it be Mason Mount, Kai Havertz, if they go play back with Cesar Azpilicueta, whoever it be. It's so impressive, and they read each other so well, and it is really interesting how, no matter whether it's Kanté as well, or one day it'll also be Zola, you think too, but these guys can just come in and go, and it fits so perfectly. But no, especially with Jorginho and Kovacic, you just get so impressed now. Every single time you kind of come out of these games and you go, wow, that midfield for Zenit had a tough game trying to deal with them.
Yeah. He's the proper definition of the eye test, isn't he, Kovacic? Doesn't quite get the credit for stats, but you watch him and you go, what a player.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was quite a frustrating first 45 minutes, I suppose, if in fairness. A lot of reaction to that. We're only in second gear, but we need to up it. The longer it stays 0-0, the more they'll grow in confidence and the more we'll get frustrated. Tuchel's understandably frustrated. We've not been good enough in possession. Like we mentioned at half-time, these are the kind of standards we set now, and this is probably why we're feeling a little bit like that, because we're coming in level. We're so used to doing that. But there is a little bit of it now, looking back at it as the whole game, kind of keeping them at arm's length a little bit, Dan, kind of just feeling our way into it.
Yeah, I think they were keeping us at arm's length, to be fair. We demand perfection as a club, as a coach, as the players themselves, the fans. We have been fortunate enough to win everything there is to win as a club, so we've just got the highest of expectations, and when we see a flat 45 minutes, we're not impressed by it, and it wasn't a terrible 45 minutes, it was just one where we weren't able to break them down, and it wasn't pretty, it wasn't beautiful, but we did it in the end, and we needed them to come up because they did grow a little bit in ambition, they did start to creep into our half, and I think eventually that allowed us a bit more space and room to play.
I suppose the games like tonight do come along, Zach, don't they? They do come along where teams perhaps are allowing you to keep the ball, or allowing you to have the ball, and kind of saying, you've got to break us down to get something. Naturally, you're going to get that when you're the champions of Europe playing at home, but we have different elements to our game this season. We have, even to the extent for the goal, and we'll come on to Lukaku's impact on it in a while, but Cesar Azpilicueta stepping in and almost playing as a third centre midfielder in there and getting the ball in deeper areas. You've got players that want to take on that responsibility, and obviously the fans play a huge part as well in keeping that encouragement. There was never a disgruntled sound during the game today, was there?
No, not at all. Yeah, not at all. The fans were behind Chelsea every single step of the way, and they seemed like they had a great time being back at Stamford Bridge. But you're right, there's nothing wrong with teams coming up to Stamford, because Chelsea are a fantastic team, one of the best in the world. And so sometimes you come here and you go, look, what's best for us in our long-term objective is to just get a draw, or maybe try and get a sneaky 1-0 win and defend for the rest of the game. There's nothing wrong with teams sitting back, but it's on us to try and counter that, to try and change that. And today we showed so. I mean, Azpilicueta we realised, well, we don't need to have our three centre-backs all sitting at the back. One of them, Rudiger or Aspi, can both push on and cause stuff. We saw Rudiger try with his dribbling and not too far from getting a goal. Then we saw Aspi do a very kind of... it reminded me of when Aspi and Morata had that link-up, a very kind of dink-up to Romelu Lukaku. And it's not an easy header from Lukaku, but that's why you pay the big money. That's why you pay so much money to get one of the world's best strikers back, and he's started with a bang. As you said, we'll probably talk about him in a bit. But all of them played their part, and it wasn't an easy game, and as Zenit took us by surprise. But I thought, as we said, kind of be patient and it'll come.
Absolutely right. Well, speaking of Tony Rudiger, rightly so, the internet has been reacting, shall we say. The day Rudiger scores one of these runs is the day my life peaks. Like you were saying, Dan, it's coming, isn't it? With the Zuma vibe. You both mentioned that as well. It's definitely coming. Rudiger with Chelsea are having trouble breaking the team down.
He does.
You'll notice he has a shot every single game from about 40 yards out.
He does.
Brilliant.
He
keeps
does.
them honest. He keeps midfields honest. He really does.
You mentioned this at the weekend, didn't you? And you said as well, you literally said, mark it, he'd take one a game.
Yeah,
and I didn't clock it.
I think it must be... I don't think this is by accident. No. I feel like he does it for a reason, because teams like that will sit back against us and hope our defenders pass it to midfielders, and then they can see a beautiful, nice shape in front of them. But when Rudiger comes racing out at you and shoots from 40 yards, you actually have to start taking him seriously. You have to start pulling people out of position.
One game specifically is always in your mind. Like 90% of the time, probably something won't happen.
Yeah.
But that 10%, which I specifically remember against Manchester United, David De Gea spilling the ball, and then was it? I can't quite remember who was there to put it away. Maybe Marcus Alonso.
I think you're right.
Sure.
Yeah.
But anyway,
you're right.
But that 10%, like, it's worth it. It's worth it. And as you said, in a game like that, when they're sitting back, and why not have an Antonio? Because one day that's going top corner, and we're all losing our heads.
Watching compilations of Alex and Ricardo Carvalho from years gone by. And speaking of match winners, which Antonio Rudiger was very nearly, the main man has been absolutely smashing it. This is our knee-jerk reaction about the big man. Romelu Lukaku is better than Ronaldo. Wow. Brackets the Brazilian one. Now, this is factually close to being correct, right? Because now Romelu Lukaku tonight has equalled Ronaldo, R9 Ronaldo, one of the best players ever. Yeah. He's equalled his Champions League goal return, right? Which is a stunning stat. Now, you've got to look into it. Obviously, there are certain elements. Ronaldo didn't play a huge amount of games in the Champions League. Romelu Lukaku hasn't played a huge amount of games in the Champions League, in fairness as well. His goal-to-game ratio is staggering. But it does get you thinking, doesn't it? We are living in an era now where stats have such a huge impact and people are so aware of how many goals people score. Ronaldo and Messi desensitised everyone to numbers. But he's a beast. His return, his goal-scoring ability, his threat is staggering.
Yeah, it's like NBA numbers. He's literally just putting numbers on the board whenever he feels like it, whether it's internationally.
He back as well.
Yeah, he's look, as a striker, I feel like your currency is goals. It's different to maybe a defender or a midfielder. That is how you're rated, and he's doing the right things because he's just hitting the back of the net whenever he pleases, it looks like.
The other reason we've mentioned that Ronaldo comparison is because in Lukaku's debut season with Inter Milan, he scored more goals than Ronaldo's debut season with Inter Milan. Yeah. There are a couple, but again, those sort of comparisons are fair in terms of Ronaldo's one of the greatest centre-forwards of all time. Yeah. At the moment, Lukaku is certainly in the top 2 or 3 in the world.
I'd probably argue as number 1, honestly. I mean, maybe him, Lewandowski is a good battle at the moment, hopefully. You never know, we might see that one day in the Champions League this season, possibly, depending on how things go. Romelu's come in and, like, it feels as if he may score the same amount of goals as games this season. It really does. As long as he stays fit and keeps going. Like, Chelsea creates so many opportunities that he just takes them. Like, against Villa, those weren't easy chances to pull off, but the way he is on the ball, how good he is on the ball, the way he pins back defenders, like, he's got so much to his game. If you're a defender and you go, OK, what I'm going to do is try and get in front of him then if he's pinning me back. OK, Romelu will then just run in behind you. It's so hard to counteract, and he's been so impressive. And, I mean, I think people have a very, very valid argument that he may be the best in the world, and who knows, maybe at the end of his career, we can properly have a conversation about him against Ronaldo, him against Brazilian Ronaldo, etc., etc.
Absolutely. Well, I tell you what, it's kind of, we do this a bit tongue-in-cheek, obviously, our overreaction tweet of the day, but Zach, you kind of mentioned it there, and I think we've all thought this without wanting to say it out loud. Scoring 40 goals this season, mark this. Bearing in mind, last season, Chelsea played 59 games, I think it was, in all competitions. Lukaku's got 4 in 4. You look at the types of goals he's scoring; they're not the same goal, Dan. You know, the header today is a polar opposite of his tapping against Arsenal, which is completely different to his thunderbolt for a second against Villa. When you're looking at the types of goals he's scoring, you can't say send him back to goal and he's not going to score.
It's daring. It's a daring stat. It could happen. Yeah. Is he on pens?
Well, we haven't had one yet.
Is he on pens?
He'll be on pens.
If he gets on pens, it's not as far-fetched as people think. I don't remember the last person that did get 40.
All comps we're talking. 40 in all comps.
Yeah, obviously, but it's a tough ask.
It's
a tough ask.
38 games, 40 goals.
If you set a standard that high, and even if you don't reach it, you know, it's hard. The Premier League stops you scoring goals. I can't even remember the last person that got 30.
I was going to say, having spoken to him, like, he would back himself.
100%.
Like, he believes in himself to be the best striker in the Premier League, to try and win the gold. Like, he's already mentioned that he wants to win the Golden Boot. He wants to do that. And the other thing, like, the way that he's joined the Chelsea squad, he's now the focal point. Everything is coming into him. So whether that's him going to be scoring them or assisting them, like, everything's going to go through him. So he'll have every opportunity to
Let's go
so.
40 goals and assists.
Okay. Goal involvement.
A bit safer, yeah.
In fairness, Zach, and you're absolutely right. We were lucky enough to interview him when he first arrived, and he could have told me that the sea is green on that day and I'd have believed him. That confidence and just the aura of the man. Lukaku has the inevitability gene now. He truly does.
City fan.
Lukaku who score. Again, fear from other fans. Yeah. You can see it all around now. Lukaku is an absolute cheat code, man. Any type of goal out of nowhere. Been said a million times, but this is what we were missing. he does feel. Show me a better striker than Lukaku. I'll wait. It does feel like there's a lot of people are talking about that cliche of the missing piece of the jigsaw. It does feel like that, and there does feel an inevitability about him scoring goals, like we see with Ronaldo up the road. And there's going to be a lot of comparisons this season because they're both going to be head to head for the Golden Boot. You expect Lukaku to score. You expect him to score a goal if he's playing because he's at that level.
Yeah, and because he's done it pretty much everywhere he's gone, and he's added more to his game now. He's not just a big physical guy. He's very smart with how he links up with people. He draws players towards him. It frees up other players, and the amount of creativity we have on our team anyway, it equals goals for him. If you could probably have guessed he would have had 4 in his first four games for Chelsea, you probably could have. It's actually not that far-fetched when you think about it properly.
Yeah, absolutely right. And that adaptability as well. Dan made the point at half-time about potentially not needing to change it. When you've got Lukaku, someone that can play on the final shoulder, running behind, someone that could be that focal point, someone that can play with back to goal, you don't need to make a change because he can play 3 or 4 different ways and he's as adaptable. The goal, it's a goal of a target man.
Yeah.
His goal against his Arsenal is a goal of a poacher. His goal against Villa is someone of a 10 that can play ball. He's got everything in his game, Zach.
He does indeed. And he complements every other player because they know that, OK, if I put this ball over the top, I know he's going to get onto it. If I put a cross in and I'm Reece James, I know he's going to try and win it in the air. He's great in the air. But if I'm Mason Mount, I want to play a 1-2 with him quickly, I can do that too. And he complements every single player, whether it's Kai Havertz and Ziyech, whether it's Mason Mount or Christian Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi. He works well with every single one of them. Whether it's Timo Werner, maybe we see a 2 up top. It would be absolutely fine because we know he did that at Inter Milan extremely successfully. It's this kind of beautiful story that's kind of adapted now. Obviously, him also being a Chelsea fan and developed into what it is. He's been so impressive just right now, and I think it can only go on the up.
And it's also important to get it done tonight, Dan, considering that we've got Juve next and they beat Malmo 3-0, I think it was tonight. 3-0 it finished. Yeah. But again, we expected that, but nights like tonight take on more importance when Juve are getting their side of it done.
Exactly. I tried to play it down, the importance of this fixture earlier, and said that it's not the worst thing in the world, but we want to be able to take some pressure off ourselves in the next few weeks. The fixture list is going to get as congested as it can get. And we want to almost go into that final week knowing that we don't need any points at all.
Yeah.
So that's the importance of it, and hopefully we can beat Juve, and all of a sudden everyone else in the group's on the back foot, and we're in total control.
Yeah, absolutely right, mate. Well, there's lots coming up over the next couple of days. A very busy September in general, to be fair. So make sure you stay with us on the Fifth Stand, because on Friday we'll bring you Thomas Tuchel's press conference ahead of a very, very big game on Sunday in the Premier League as Chelsea travel to Tottenham. Sunday at midday in the PL2 first, though, another London derby. Chelsea hosts Arsenal before 3:25. Matchday Live will be back. So yes, the big one. Chelsea Spurs in the Premier League. It's always takes on a little bit of extra flavour, doesn't it, Zach? And maybe nights like tonight are ever more important because now you're coming into it off the back of 2 good results, 2 good performances, minutes in the legs of everyone. If you're looking at a sort of a tick list, everything's gone well.
Yeah, man. Momentum is so big in football, so important. You look at maybe even back in the day, the 2016 Leicester run, half of that felt like it was just due to momentum, constantly winning. And you want to set a precedent that, OK, it may have been Zenit, it could be Spurs, it could be City, it could be Brentford, but you want to win these games. There's no easy game and there's no game that you'll let off. And also to come out of it, and then you've rested Kai Havertz for a majority of the game. You've been able to give minutes as well to Ben Chilwell. You've got Mason Mount back into the starting squad. Tuchel will be very happy with tonight's performance for sure.
I suppose that's the thing, Dan, isn't it, really? We knew that there was a couple of players that were missing tonight, but the players that perhaps got a little bit of a rest, whether it be Kai Havertz, do you expect him to come in? Thiago Silva, do you expect him to start at the weekend now? Because
I've stopped trying to predict this. I'm being serious. I've stopped. Yeah. Honestly, every time I think, all right, he's done that because on Saturday he's going to do that, I get it wrong. So I didn't expect Kovacic to play 90 minutes today. I don't know what to expect. I expect to see Kai, but it means absolutely nothing. It's just my expectation.
It's so true.
It's so true. Even at the weekend, when we're all kind of piecing down our first player on the team sheet, for a long time it was Aspi and Mason, and you could pick 9 around that. You don't know who else is going to start. Mason doesn't start at the weekend. He starts tonight. Does he start Sunday? Who knows? But we've got such a good squad, Zach. Yeah. The importance is getting minutes to almost everyone within the camp to make sure they're ready to go.
100%, and also it keeps players on top of their toes, right? It knows when you've been given your opportunity, that's it. You have to take it in this game. You need to provide for us. I mean, maybe the only one at the moment that feels kind of a safe bet is Romelu Lukaku. I say that, who knows? You might be surprised that it's Kai up front or team up front on the weekend. You're not so sure, but then also keeps the opposition guessing. If I'm a manager here and I'm trying to plan for, an Azpilicueta and Thiago Silva, but Thiago Silva's just been dropped and Kovacic's just played 2 games, but does that mean he's going? Is Kanté coming back? You just don't know what's happening here, and so you can't give your players instructions until the team sheet comes in the last 10 minutes or so to say, okay, you mark this guy, you follow this guy. So it's so difficult for us, but also so difficult for the opposition.
And also, Dan, there is that little bit, we're playing tonight. Spurs play Thursday night, I think, in the Europa Conference League. So that we've got 2 extra days rests. We've got now a chance to get 3 or 4 good days training, which for the last 6-7 months, that luxury hasn't happened really because we've been so stacked up with games. So now he's got an opportunity to assess everyone after tonight. Tomorrow morning, hopefully come through with no knocks, no injuries, and then just focus on that. Exactly, and then we have more time analysing, more time training, more time working on the specifics of playing Tottenham, and they have no time. But to be fair, we only played 3 days ago as well, so it swings and roundabouts. This is our week. Unlucky Tottenham. Unlucky. Boys, thank you so much. Quality as always. So there you go then. The Kings of Europe are back. 1 out of 1. Saturday the 28th of May 2022. It started in Zenit. Does it end in St. Petersburg? Good evening.